Hey!
Today's video is all about how you can bounce back from a setback.
And we are the Level Up Academy, so make sure you hit the subscribe button below if you're a new coach and you want to unleash your full potential, because we're going to be documenting our journey and telling you exactly how we went from our corporate careers to becoming full-time online coaches.
Okay, so we're going to start off talking to you about our experience, about some setbacks we've had, and how we've managed to kind of jump out of it and start to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah, and it's a common issue that a lot of online coaches, entrepreneurs, who might not have a kind of a flowering business background come across.
Definitely, and especially because a lot of times you might have seen videos of people just telling you how easy it is to start an online business or just become successful overnight. Right?
And they will do, because they want to get you kind of excited by it, because it is a rewarding process. But if you're terrified of that process, if you don't believe in yourself that you can achieve the outcome or the rewards of that process, you're not going to buy into their program.
Exactly. And so if you have been in a situation where you've had setbacks, or you feel a little bit shit, then this is for you. So first example we've got from our own journey of going into full-time online coaching, the first thing was rejection on a sales call.
Sales calls are tough.
They're tough.
Particularly at the start.
It was tough. And the thing is, there's a lot of setbacks that you can have when you first get started, but the one that hits you quite harshly is a sales call, because at least for us, we had been working for a long time. We were like psyched, yeah, let's go, let's do this. We were working on your program. You're confident that it's awesome, right? So you get on a call and the person you're speaking to, it all feels nice. You come to talk about the price, you talk about the program, and they say, no. And you end the call with...
We both are strong believers in the authentic sales process. We don't like being those sleazy salespeople, but we got into this line of business because we love hearing other people's stories and helping them. Yeah. Right? Of course, helping them where we can. We're not these gurus that can help anything and everything. We stick to what we know. And we go through this whole process of making sure that we trust each other, making sure that we are, we're on the same page, we're getting to know each other. So actually there's a lot of physical effort, but very emotional effort going into the call.
Yeah.
So actually, when you come off the back of that call and after all that effort that's gone into it and it doesn't work out,
especially because we know that we can help them and that they need our help. So, we're only talking to those kinds of people. And then if it's a no, you feel really shit about it.
Even your first few. I mean, we still go through the process. The tips that we're going to talk to you about, we still go through, we still use today, even though we're quite experienced on these calls and, we're familiar with how it can go. We still go through this process because emotionally it's still draining. But the next example is a bit bigger than, let's say, the single sales call or the series of sales calls. It's the launch. Okay. Yes. We had a launch that just fell flat on its face.
Terrible.
We did actually record a debrief after it, which we'll be releasing soon. But
so subscribe there if you haven't
already.
Subscribe
there to keep an eye on that immediate debrief. We put so much time into preparing for this launch. It wasn't a failed launch. It was just a launch that didn't give us huge numbers of clients off the back of it.
But this brings back to another point around, expectations. When your expectations have not been met, that's when you can feel really crap. So right now, if you're watching this video, it's because you have had a setback or you feel quite bad about something, right? It could be that what you were expecting to happen in your life has just not happened right now. So there could be a bit of a misalignment between your expectation and the reality that happened, which was our launch. Especially if this expectation you had came from hours and hours of hard work. Hours and hours of you losing sleep and stress and pulling your hair out, all that kind of stuff, which was our reality. Again, if you aren't watching or aren't following us on Instagram, then link is in the bio below. We shared our journey through that and talked about how difficult it was going through the whole launch process.
I mean, and how it's still difficult because we've got multiple launches coming and it's still difficult because you commit so much of that time. The first launch, I think we worked on for about, a couple of months straight. This was kind of late hours, coming up with brand new email chains or email funnels. And
brand new everything.
I mean, we had to record the entire thing and prepare all the material from scratch.
That process of launch, if you've gone through that or if you're going through that right now, it's tough, and if it fails, it will set you back quite a lot. So for us, we debriefed straight after to get our feelings out, but it did take us quite a while to get our energy back.
But the other situation that is also very common amongst new and any sort of coach actually throughout their journey when they're releasing a new product is working hard towards something but not seeing progress.
And this can happen in almost any area of your life. If you're trying to lose weight, you could be doing a lot of stuff, being busy, but that doesn't mean you're making progress. Same thing in business. You could be busy doing a lot of work, but if you don't see that evidence of progress, don't feel like you're making steps forward, that's tough.
It's hard to believe or trust yourself. In the fitness world, we always use the whole trust the process message, because there's a tried and tested process. The beauty of the human body is that it's a machine, right? It works in a certain way. Even though once your emotions get involved, it's difficult to believe that. The human body works like a machine. I mean, it is a machine. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it's those emotions that throw you off the bandwagon. Yes. But when it comes to business, sometimes it's more difficult to tell because there's no one magic recipe. People might try to tell you that, but there's no one magic recipe to building a successful business. It requires consistent effort. There is a bit of a process, but it does require, sometimes you can feel, is this the right process for me? Is it the wrong process? And keeping that enthusiasm and maintaining momentum or the motivation to keep going forward is difficult when you don't have that feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And especially as new coaches, one of the things that happen is you don't really have any other evidence to fall back on, right? So that was the same thing for us when we were new. It's that we're putting our work in, following the steps, following the advice of other coaches and other business owners that tell you what to do. Yes, you're following that, but it takes a while for things to pick up. So if you're working hard and spending a lot of hours, like, we were doing it on the side of our jobs as a side hustle. So we had a full-time job in corporate companies, and then we were doing it in the evenings. So when you're putting a lot of time into it and losing sleep over it, but you're not seeing that progress, you don't really have any other evidence to fall back on to show to yourself that you can trust the process, because you just don't even know whether you're on the right process or not.
But we've rambled on quite a bit on examples. So if you have experienced rejected sales calls, or you've had a failed launch, or you've just been working super hard and you're not seeing that progress, it's understandable that you'd be feeling quite deflated, lacking that motivation. So we're now just going to run through our top tips, or what works for us to lift us back up.
This is the same thing that we tell all of our clients as well when they're going through things, or our sales calls, our enrollment calls when we're having them and people feel crap. This is what we tell them to do as well, because we don't want people to be making decisions on a moment where they're feeling low. So instead, you want to be making decisions when you're on a high. So this is how you can get back to the high.
The first one on our list is a debrief, right? Yeah. We love, every time we have a moment like this, whether it be a failed launch or a crappy sales call, we'll kind of get together, we'll have either a strategy meeting, a debrief, whatever. Something where we can reflect on what has happened to date, what went well, what didn't go well, and what can we improve next time. And that's an important one. It's the lessons learned.
And it's really important that we do that debrief because it gets things off our chest. One of the biggest things that happen is when you're sitting and rambling through all these things in your head, it spirals down, right? And I think we talked about it literally earlier today. Tony Robbins has a quote about if you're in your head, you're dead. What it means is that if you keep thinking about stuff in your head all the time, you're more likely to lead to burnout, failure, give up, all that kind of stuff. But if you talk about it, if you're lucky enough to have a partner, you can talk about it. If you haven't seen our video about that, we've just put it up there if you want to consider a partner. But if not, you should write it down or something like that, right? So you can just figure out a way to reflect on what's making you feel crappy.
Exactly. And it kind of does nicely move us on to the next process, that is reminding yourself of your why sometimes. Yes. So, when you're feeling crappy, when you're feeling unmotivated because of this setback, it's really easy to let those thoughts overcome you and start to define you as an individual, you as a business, your offer, your product, and it can spiral out of control. Reminding yourself of your why, so you get clear on the vision that you're working towards, right? Why you're working towards that particular vision, why it's important to you, in the hope that you can start reigniting that flame that caused you or led you to make the decision to start your own business in the first place. And particularly if you're not seeing the progress that you want to be seeing, you can quite easily spiral into limiting beliefs. Okay,
Yeah, like,
and that
what's
can-
the point? Why am I even doing this? Am I
Exactly.
good enough? I'm not cut out for this. All those kinds of examples might be going on in your head instead.
If left uncontrolled, it can start to define you as an individual, start to define your business.
Yeah, think about it. If you're feeling a little bit down or very down, if a lot of things hasn't gone to plan lately and you feel quite crap, there's nothing more powerful than kind of realizing why you wanted to go on this journey, and nothing more powerful than you just putting stuff down on paper, because you can really see what's going on in your head, and then this massive burden feels like it's lifted.
It nicely moves us on to the next point, right?
Yes.
The next tip, which is ride the wave.
In reality, sometimes you just gotta feel shit for a little while.
Yeah.
And that happens, and that's okay. Look, like we told you about our launch earlier, it's the same thing. We know all of these tips, we know all the processes of what we need to do, and we did them, but we still feel shit. Nothing good ever comes easy. That's the reality of it. So if you feel crap, it's okay. Ride that wave for a little while and start doing the other tips that we mentioned. 10% of life is what happens to you. 90% of life is how you react to
Yeah.
it.
If you were to respond straight after a failed launch or a failed sales call, if you were to kind of make serious business decisions or start judging yourself after those setbacks, then your emotions are going haywire at that point, right? If you respond to those superficial emotions, you're not going to be making smart business decisions.
Or life
really,
decisions.
Really difficult thing to say. Business decisions. Business decisions.
decisions.
Yeah. So you're not going to be making the right choices.
I don't know who said this, but someone said that when emotions are high, intelligence is low. Just please do not make decisions, life decisions, business decisions, any decisions when you're feeling really, really shitty, because that might not be the right call for you.
You'll know when it's the right time. At the very least, I'd say go to bed once, sleep one night first before you start analyzing or reflecting. We did record a video immediately after our failed launch, but that wasn't to make any serious business decisions. It wasn't because we'd already decided. What we wanted to do was capture the raw emotions of that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the thing we realized is that nobody really shares that kind of stuff. When we went on to doing business, well, no one told us that launches can fail. You think it's obvious, but you think if you're following the process, you should not have a failed launch. But no one also prepares you for what it looks like after the failed launch and how difficult it is. So we wanted to document that journey and show the real footage of what it's like for you when you're starting out, because it's not always going to be roses and rainbows.
Exactly.
Sometimes it rains.
Exactly. So guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can watch that raw emotion, the emotional roller coaster that is our debrief after our failed launch.
Remember, if you fall along your journey, that's part of the whole thing, okay? Don't let this setback set you back. Instead, think of failures as lessons that you can learn from, and you can keep going. You are still writing your story. Any failures, any mistakes is just the end of a chapter. If you learn from it, you're starting on a new chapter, so keep writing.
So guys, as we said, make sure you subscribe to the channel below to kind of stay on top or stay up to date with our journey. We're going to be documenting it as much as we possibly can so that you can learn from the raw emotional roller coaster that is building a new online coaching business. So subscribe below. We'll be giving tips and tricks on staying confident, staying motivated, and overcoming those fears of failure, judgment, and rejection. Let us know if you have any other tips on how you bounce back from other setbacks down in the comments below. Hit the notification bell so you know when these new videos come out, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.